Hey, okay. Hi everyone. I am Dr. Bree and I am here on Instagram TV and also hopefully this is going to end up on YouTube to answer a question about breathing and some breathing strategies that I use in my videos on my YouTube channel, femfusionfitness.com, and specifically in my lift series. So I have a lift pelvic organ support series that I'm really proud of. It's a totally free series that people can sign up to. It has several weeks of emails with different videos each week, different exercises that kind of lead you through a gentle pelvic floor and core strengthening progression. We work first on relaxing and releasing and then strengthening, particularly for people with mild to moderate pelvic organ prolapse. So this series is available over at femfusionfitness.com/lift-pelvic-organ-support. Oh my gosh, that's way too long of a URL, but that's what it is. So you can learn more about it there, or I'll put the link in the video notes somewhere as well. But basically, I recently received a question that I've received before from somebody who's really quite new to my work, and she was asking about the breathing that I did. She was really confused about kind of when to exhale with certain exercises and when to engage her pelvic floor and all of that. So I want to talk about that for those of you who again, maybe new to me. Now, I talk about the breathing a lot throughout my videos, but I'm totally aware that some of you are new to me and you don't have time or interest to go back and try to kind of piece it all together and figure it out from the videos that I've done in the past. So I want to go over the basic breathing strategy that I use in my workouts, and also I want to share with you the decompression breath. And lastly, I will specifically show you how I use the exercise in a particular move that's one of my favorites, the butterfly bridge. So first of all, about the breathing. For most people, you've probably never even thought about how you breathe. Unfortunately, what I'm going to share with you might feel kind of awkward, because once you do kind of start thinking about how you're breathing, you might realize that you've actually your whole life just sort of barely breathed at all. It's been really shallow and usually pretty high up in your chest. That's really common, is to really breathe up here. And I'm asking you to bring your focus and your awareness a little bit down to your rib cage, really letting your ribs expand all the way around as you're inhaling and your lungs are getting bigger. Your rib cage is going to expand all the way around, and also your belly is going to feel like it's expanding a little bit. So it's the diaphragmatic breathing, where rather than just breathing up here in your chest or barely moving anything at all and just barely exchanging enough oxygen to survive, we're trying to get a little deeper. So you're gonna think about breathing down into your pelvic floor and then exhaling and feeling the belly come inward just a little bit. So that's the basic diaphragmatic breathing that we're kind of going for here. So an expansion of your ribs and your belly, and then everything coming in and up. Again, some people breathe the opposite of that, and that's really quite common, but for the purposes of the work that I do, I want to teach you how to breathe this new way. Excuse me. It might be new to you. So just kind of practice that breathing as I'm telling you the next step. So the next step is to really coordinate that deep diaphragmatic breathing with this engagement of our pelvic floor and our deep inner core muscles to help stabilize us during our workouts. So what I want you to do is I want you to, don't even worry about your breathing right now. So take a break from the breathing, and I want you to engage your pelvic floor. Do a tiny little Kegel. So a Kegel contraction is a gentle squeeze and lift of the pelvic floor muscles, kind of like you're trying to stop the flow of urine. They're like your peeing muscles, where you can stop the flow of urine, or maybe like pretend you're in yoga class and you have to pass gas, and that feeling like you're trying to stop the fart from coming out. So that is more of the posterior part of the pelvic floor, but the entire pelvic floor, you get that sensation of kind of a gentle squeeze and lift. So it's not a bearing down, it's a squeeze and lift. That's the Kegel contraction. Now what we're gonna work on ultimately is coordinating that. It's gonna start to feel really natural over time because of the physiological way the body naturally moves anyway. It's gonna start to feel really natural to coordinate that Kegel contraction with the exhale, okay? So let's just start though by not even thinking about the breathing, just think about the little Kegel. So go ahead and just do the little tiny pelvic floor squeeze and lift, and then release. And then do it again. So a little squeeze and lift, and then release. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to breathe in. So think about breathing down low again into your belly. And then as you exhale, do that little Kegel, okay? So again, you breathe down into your belly, let everything expand. Feel a little bit of downward pressure on your pelvic organs. As your lungs expand and get bigger, your breathing diaphragm goes down just a little bit. That puts some pressure on that area. Let it be. Just let everything open and expand. And then when you exhale, that's when I want you to draw in that little Kegel contraction. So keep practicing that as I kind of explain a little more about that pelvic floor and diaphragm connection. So the breathing diaphragm is right under your lungs, right here. Your pelvic floor is down here. So when you inhale, your lungs get bigger, your ribs expand, everything kind of gets bigger through here, and your breathing diaphragm goes down. Again, this increases intra-abdominal pressure. Your diaphragm's not going down a lot, but enough to make a bit of a pressure change. That's gonna press on your pelvic organs a bit, and your pelvic floor needs to just allow that. Just allow it. You don't want it to be resisting all the time. We wanna allow a really nice ebb and flow. So everything goes down. Then when you exhale, your lungs get smaller as the air comes out. Your breathing diaphragm naturally comes up just a little bit. And your pelvic floor, again, it's a great time for your pelvic floor to lift as well. So they go together. So inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. I don't think I'm looking at the camera. There we go. Okay, so I hope that you're starting to kind of feel that a little bit. Again, let's try one more round of just the inhaling, expanding, and then the exhaling, that little tiny Kegel happens at the same time. Okay, now I want to pull in one more step. So now we're going to pull in a little bit of abdominal engagement. So this is what you really want to do during a lot of my workouts, or anytime you're maybe at the gym or what have you. Maybe you're lifting weights or you're doing a workout, and you really need that extra core engagement to help protect your back, to stabilize your spine, all of that. So this is where we're going to pull in the what I call zipping up your core. So when you exhale, you're going to, actually, let me quickly back up. When you exhale, the way we're doing this now, your transversus abdominis, the corset muscles that go all the way around your waist like a corset, all the way around, these naturally activate when you exhale. And plus, we're feeling that kind of pulling inward of the abdominal area because the pressure is releasing in the intra-abdominal area and the diaphragm is going up. And the pelvic floor is lifting. That's all happening. And the cool thing is that your pelvic floor and your deep abdominals, the transversus abdominis, are very intimately connected. So when the pelvic floor engages, so too does the transversus abdominis. And again, it's naturally engaging when you exhale anyway. So it just is such a beautiful time to activate the core when you exhale. It just flows, like it just works. Nature is designed so beautifully. So let's try now to breathe down into our pelvic floor, pelvic bowl, let your ribs, let everything just expand. And then as you exhale, pull in that Kegel, that tiny Kegel. It's not a clench, it's just a tiny activation. And then pull in the deep abs. Okay, now release. And if you need to kind of shake it out, that's fine. And we can do it again. And pretty soon this can become a very flowing breath where you inhale and expand and then exhale, feel that tiny gentle Kegel, and then feel the lower belly draw in as well as you exhale. So keep practicing that. You inhale, everything expands and releases and opens. And as you exhale, you feel that gentle lift of your pelvic floor, the drawing in of your abdominals, and your lungs get smaller as the air goes out. So everything in, expand, Everything out, can gently contract and lift. So let me quickly share with you now about the decompression breath, which kind of takes this even one more step further. So the decompression breath is when you are going to be doing a pose or a move that requires a forward fold or maybe a twist. This is a time when there can be a lot of downward pressure on your pelvic organs. The last breath that I was showing you is a great way to stabilize your core, stabilize the internal pressure, manage that internal pressure. But if we really need to take it to the next level, because again, we're gonna be doing a deep forward fold or a deep twist, which normally could put a lot of downward pressure on your pelvic organs, we wanna do this decompression breath, which sort of, like I said, it just takes this to the next level. So right now, I would like you to practice this with me. You're going to go like this with your breath. See how it starts quiet and then gets louder as we let even more air out of our lungs. Our diaphragm comes up even more and we pull in our abdominals even more. And the pelvic floor is lifting too. So it's like we're just decompressing all of that pressure on our pelvic organs. We're taking all of that intra-abdominal pressure out of the picture and we're getting rid of it just with that big, long, extended exhale that gets a little bit louder and louder and louder and louder. So the way to use this, go ahead and practice it once. We'll do it together and then I'll show you how to use this. So you inhale and then as you exhale, you go, and you feel that lift of the pelvic floor, a lightening of your load, and you feel the drawing in of your abdominals. Make sure that your ribs don't pop forward when you do this. You want to, button up the ribs. You don't want them to thrust forward too much. So you want to stay nice and tall and lifted, but you feel how you just don't feel any pressure, any downward pressure on your pelvic organs anymore. It should feel really good and kind of light and engaged through the core. So what I want you to try doing now, if you're in a place where you can, maybe you're seated on the edge of a chair or the edge of your couch, I want you to try this decompression breath to prepare for a forward fold. So again, sometimes with prolapse, this can be a difficult move because of the real pressure. If you're just sort of folding forward, this downward pressure on your internal organs. But with the decompression breath, it really helps. So let's go ahead and prepare for this move with the decompression breath. So inhale, and then exhale, and then move into your forward fold as you are kind of reaching the end of that decompression breath. So once you get comfortable with this, well, real quick, and when you're in the forward fold, you don't have to keep breathing that way. That could strain your vocal cords and you don't want to overdo it. But once you're in the position, you're safer to just breathe normally. But getting into that position, that transition can be a tough time. And so that's when you want to use that decompression breath. So let's go ahead and maybe try it again, but you can try it and move into the position as you're doing the breath. So think about decompressing the pelvic organs as you do that exhale and fold at the same time. So I've been really using this decompression breath a lot in my more recent videos. I don't really specifically use that terminology in the LIFT program because the LIFT program is actually, a year and a half old now. It probably needs to be updated at some point, but it is what it is. But use the decompression breath when you think about it, when you're doing your yoga or your other exercises. It's so helpful. So lastly, I want to leave you with a reality, kind of real life situations where you might want to use this, just the basic core stabilizing breath that we talked about at length a little bit ago. So the inhale and then the exhale, just a gentle squeeze and lift and activation of the deep abdominals. So that is a great time. You can actually hold it once you've found that position. If you're doing some weightlifting, I tend to like to hold that set, like that core set zipped up position, hold it, and then I actually will breathe a little higher into my chest during that time. If I'm doing some heavier weightlifting, I'm just sort of keeping, and this isn't for super, super heavy weightlifting, that requires a whole different set of breathing techniques that I am not an expert in, but just for using my regular 10-pound weights or something. I like to be set through my core. And so that's when I'll keep really focusing on the exhales because that helps manage the pressure. But I'm gonna keep that activation the whole time during my set of, say, dumbbell curls with 10-pound weights. I'm gonna keep that activation and I'm gonna really focus on the exhales because again, every time I exhale, it manages that pressure and it activates my abdominals and it releases pressure on the pelvic floor and everything is just engaged and working together. Another time you could use it is during like my butterfly bridge, which the viewer had specifically asked me about. So I will show you what the butterfly bridge looks like right here. Sorry for this highly professional filming. Okay, so the butterfly bridge, your knees go apart and your feet face each other. And then when you lift your butt off the floor, you exhale, draw the knees together, and your bum is engaged. So inhale, release, and then exhale, lift. Inhale, release. Exhale, lift. So guess when you're doing your little gentle engagement of the pelvic floor? You're doing it when you are bringing your knees together and lifting your bum off the floor. So it just naturally works really well because you're activating the butt, you're activating the inner thighs, and that's a perfect natural overflow into your pelvic floor to do that Kegel. Plus, you're exhaling at that time. So it's natural for your Kegel to happen easier. So it's just a great time to really activate the inner core muscles, the pelvic floor, the deep abs, the back, and then also those hip muscles, all at the same time. So one more time, I'll show you from the front. This will be highly flattering. Okay, I'm gonna come down. Knees are apart. I hope my jeans are okay. Okay. And then I inhale in this position and then exhale. And inhale and exhale. The lifted bridge position, where I've exhaled to lift my bum and everything's nice and engaged, is also a great position for prolapse because gravity is kind of pulling all of the pelvic organs back into their rightful place. I love bridges for that reason. So there are other ways to breathe. You don't have to always breathe this way. And some, yoga classes, for example, will have you inhale as you lift into bridge. And that's okay. You need to your body needs to be able to adapt to different breathing patterns. But I'm just giving you a strategy that really is great for managing pressure. And it's kind of a good rule of thumb that if you exhale with exertion, it's going to help you manage that intra-abdominal pressure, and it's going to help stabilize your core and prevent excessive, excessive downward pressure on your pelvic organs. So exhale with exertion. Know that in general, when I am giving instructions in my lift videos and in my YouTube videos, etc., I'm usually having you exhale or engage your pelvic floor gently as you exhale if we're doing an active exercise. Again, you don't need to walk around all day worrying about engaging your pelvic floor and exhaling, you don't worry about it. Just breathe normally. But this is more for when you're doing workouts or you're, vacuuming or you're moving something or lifting something or pushing or pulling or doing something that requires that stability and that normally could put some strain on your pelvic floor and your low back and your abs if you have diastasis recti. So learn how to properly manage your pressure, and this breathing strategy should help. And don't forget that decompression breath. I hope you'll practice it, and I hope you'll love it and use it in your regular workouts and yoga routines as well. Don't be afraid to let your breathing be audible. It's really important, and just focus on those exhales, knowing how wonderful they are for activating your inner core, for releasing that pressure on your pelvic floor, and so I'll leave it at that. I hope that all makes sense. I hope it's clear. And thank you so much for watching. As always, remember, eat clean, move every day, and you will shine brighter. I hope to see you more on Instagram. If you're watching this on Instagram and on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love providing free women's health and fitness inspiration and information. All right, thanks again. Bye.